We all have a story. Your story is not my story, and my story is not yours. However, we can find joy, hope, and emotional healing even through our most painful moments in life. Let's walk and take this journey of healing together, one step at a time, because your story does not define you. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Niesha here, and I want to say welcome back to Your Story Does Not Define You, the podcast. If this is your first time joining me and tuning in with me, I want to say welcome. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast, and I want to encourage you to stop right now, follow this podcast, share it with your friend, and then after you listen to it, feel free to leave me a 5-star rating and leave me a review. I would love to hear your feedback about this podcast. And if you are joining me again, I want to say thank you for tuning back in with me and being on this journey with me as we continue to heal together, as we continue to tell our stories together, and as we continue to reshape the vision of who we are and understand and know that our stories do not define who we are. We all have a story. We all have experienced life, and whatever way and whatever capacity that we have experienced it in a negative way, we know that our stories do not define who we are, because we are resilient, we are overcomers, and we are going to continue to heal on this journey together. So, what is your vibe today? My vibe today is I have been on cloud overjoyed for the past week or so. Some of you may have known that I recently hosted my second annual It Hurts to Heal Women's Conference on Friday the 20th. And when I say y'all, my heart is still overjoyed. I am still in awe of all of the things that have taken place at that conference, and I'm still in awe of how God showed up and met us there. You know, it's so amazing when you pray, when God gives you an assignment and you walk in obedience and you pray and you fast and you seek His direction and you seek His clarity for something that He wants you to do. And when He shows up and absolutely blows your mind, oh my goodness, y'all, I'm telling you, I am on cloud overjoyed. I mean, there was a lot of tears, a lot of stress in the backgrounds, a lot of, uncertainties. But let me tell you, all of the tears, all of the background work, all of the uncertainties, all of the stress, when I say that it was all worth it just to see women united in a room together. It's about 300 women in that room. And when I say just seeing women united, women coming together, being connected and healing together, it just makes my heart so glad, and I definitely don't take any credit. And all I continue to say to people is to God be the glory, because that is exactly how I feel. This definitely was God's conference. I'm just the vessel that He used to manifest this conference and make it come into fruition. So that is my vibe today, y'all. I'm still overjoyed, still in a space of gratitude, and just still humbly grateful for everything that took place that night. So with that, what is your vibe today? Because remember, you get to change your vibe. You have the opportunity to reshift, reground yourself as many times as you need to make sure that you are in a space that is a space that provides peace for you, and a space that allows you to move throughout your day without stress. And so remember, y'all, you get to shift your vibe. If you wake up in the morning and you feel off, or if something happens to you throughout the day and you just feel like things don't go the way that you want to, remember, you can reground yourself. You can shift your mood. You can shift your attitude, and you can change your approach to things, because those are things that you can control. So I encourage you to change your vibe, y'all. When you need to shift your mood, change your vibe. Okay. So today we're going to talk about something that is deeply personal, deeply emotional, and honestly life-changing when you begin to understand it. And so we're going to be talking about healing the inner child and why it is such an important part of your healing journey. And so we talked about this, about the conference, and I want to talk about this a little bit further. So before you tune out or you think, okay, I've heard that term before, but I don't really know what it means. Look, stay with me. Stay with me to the end of this episode, because chances are is that your inner child is already showing up in your life, and sometimes you may not even realize that. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to think about this. Have you ever found yourself reacting strongly to something and then later thinking, why did that affect me so much? Or maybe someone didn't text you back, or maybe someone raised their voice at you, or maybe you felt ignored, dismissed, or rejected. And then suddenly your reaction felt bigger than that situation. That, y'all, is often your inner child speaking. That is often your inner child showing up in your life. Not the adult version of you, but a younger version of you. A version of you that once experienced something similar and never fully got what they needed in that moment. And so today we're going to gently explore that. But before we dive into today's episode, I just want to take a minute to just, again, breathe. And I want to talk a little bit about the second annual It Hurts to Heal Women's Conference that took place on Friday the 20th. Because what I experienced that Friday at that conference, I am still carrying in my heart. And I knew that I couldn't move forward on this podcast and record another episode without coming on here and sharing this with you about the conference. And so whether you were in the room or you're just listening right now from wherever you are, please know that this conversation is for you too, whether you were in the room or not. And let me say this clearly. This message is not just for women. This is for anyone, man or woman, who has ever experienced pain, rejection, abandonment, or brokenness and is ready to heal. This is for anyone who is ready to do the work and to continue to be on your healing journey. So at the conference, I gave a challenge to the women, and I told everyone in that room to go back and get that little girl from their past. Go back and get that little girl that was 5, that was 7, that was 10, that was 17, that was 20, that was 21. And I wanted them to go back and remember her name, remember her nickname. Who was she? What did they call her? I wanted them to go back and get that little girl and bring her to that night at the conference, because that little girl is still there. The version of you that felt rejected, the version of you that felt unseen, the version of you that learned to be strong too early. They didn't disappear. They just grew up with you. And a lot of us are living adult lives today with unhealed childhood wounds. So when we talk about this is actually something about healing the inner child. This is actually something that I talk about in my new book release, It Hurts to Heal, From the Pain of Brokenness to the Blessing of Healing. If you have not ordered your copy today, I encourage you to order your copy. It Hurts to Heal, From the Pain of Brokenness to the Blessing of Healing. You can find that book on my website at drniesha.davis-massey.com, or you can order it on Amazon or wherever books are sold. And remember, when you get the book, leave me a 5-star rating and leave me a review. And so there's a chapter in the book that I wrote titled, The Child You Buried is Still Breathing. Let that sit for a second. The child you buried is still breathing. And that chapter talks about healing the inner child, because a lot of us didn't heal. We buried the pain. We buried the memories. We buried the emotions. We buried the version of us that didn't feel safe to exist. But just because you buried it, it doesn't mean that it died. It's still there, still breathing, still waiting, still needing you. So there was a moment in that room at the conference where you could feel something shifting. Women weren't just leaving, they weren't just listening, they were feeling. Tears flowed, release happened, and truth unfolded. And some of you may know that our keynote speaker that night was Dr. Anita Phillips. And when I say Dr. Anita Phillips, she came in and she didn't just speak to us. She disrupted something. She helped us understand that healing your inner child is not optional. It's necessary for wholeness. And I truly believe that we didn't just leave that room inspired. We left that room confronted. And this is exactly why I wrote that book, It Hurts to Heal, From the Pain of Brokenness to the Blessing of Healing, because the book itself was born out of real pain, real experiences, real healing, because I needed people to understand this truth. And I need you to understand this truth. Healing will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you denial. It will cost you avoidance. But staying broken, that will cost you your life. It will cost you your relationships. It will cost you your peace. And so on this episode, even though that conference may have ended, the work didn't, the healing didn't, and the invitation didn't. So I invite every listener right now, whether you are at the conference or you weren't at the conference, this is a personal invitation from me to continue to heal and to do the work, because you cannot heal without doing the work. And Dr. Anita confirmed that through her powerful message at the conference, that healing that inner child, as painful as it may be, requires us to do the work. We have to do the work. We have to do the work to get through. And so I want to invite every listener to go back and get that younger version of you, that little girl, that little boy. And I want you to bring them back from the past, because we are going to learn how to talk to that little boy and that little girl and tell them things that they needed to hear back then, because it's not too late for them to know that even now. And so let's start here. Imagine that younger version of you standing in front of you right now. Remember their name. What is his name? What is her name? And imagine that younger version of you standing in front of you right now. What would they say to you? Would they ask you, why didn't you protect me? Why did you stay silent? Why did you believe what they said about us? Or would they just want a hug from you? Some of you didn't lose yourself. You hid yourself because it was safer that way. That is your inner child. That is your inner child. Your inner child is not just a concept. It is the emotional a part of you that holds your earliest experiences. It holds your first experiences with love, your first experiences of rejection, your first understanding of safety, your first understanding of worth. It is the part of you that learned, am I safe here? Am I loved as I am? Do I have to change who I am to be accepted? And those answers, they just didn't stay in your childhood. They became beliefs. They became patterns in your life. They became the lens through which you now experience the world. And now there are different parts of the inner child. And I want to talk a little bit about that. So there's the wounded inner child, the part that carries pain, neglect, rejection, fear. And there is the adapted inner child, the part that learned how to survive. maybe by people pleasing, maybe by being perfect, or maybe by staying quiet. And then there is the free inner child, the part of you that is joyful, creative, curious, and authentic. And can I just say this? That healing is not just about addressing the wounded parts of that inner child. It's also about reconnecting with the free parts of you that you may have buried. And there was a moment in the conference that I invited the women to stand up, and I invited them to reconnect with that free inner child. And I invited them to engage in movement and dancing and clapping with that free inner child by listening to a song and remembering the activities that they once enjoyed. That free inner child that would dance so freely, that would move so freely and engage in activities and be free and be happy and creative and joyful, because that is also part of healing the inner child, connecting with those childhood joys that used to mean so much to you. And so now let's talk about how this actually shows up in our adult lives. Let's talk about that, because we want the joys to show up, but we know that that wounded inner child also shows up, and that that adaptive inner child also shows up. But let's talk about how this actually shows up in our adult life. So, because this is where it becomes real, this is where you start to recognize yourself. So, for example, if you grew up feeling like your needs weren't met, you may now struggle to ask for what you need. If you grew up feeling like love was inconsistent, you may now fear abandonment in relationships. If you were only praised when you achieved, you may now feel like your worth is tied to productivity. And if you were criticized often, you may now have a very harsh inner voice. If your emotions weren't validated, you may now suppress how you feel, or you may feel overwhelmed when emotions come up. And here's the thing, y'all. These are not flaws. These are adaptations. These are ways your younger self learned to survive. And they made sense back then to you, but now they may be limiting you. Now they may be keeping you stuck in cycles in relationships, cycles in self-worth, cycles in how you respond to life. These are the things that are showing up in your adult life. And again, I talk about this in chapter 4 of my book. So, why is inner child healing so important? One of the things is because unhealed wounds don't just disappear. They show up again in your relationships, in your triggers, in your fears, in your decisions. They show up in who you choose. They show up in how you communicate. They show up in what you tolerate. And sometimes they show up in ways that don't even make sense to you. You can know better. You can read the books, you can listen to the podcast, you can tell yourself, I deserve better, and still feel stuck. Because healing is not just intellectual, it is emotional. And our emotions are bodily experiences. And your inner child holds those emotional experiences very well until those experiences are acknowledged. Until those feelings are processed, until those needs are recognized, the patterns will continue. Not because you're broken, but because something within you is still trying to be seen. Something within you is still trying to be heard. So I want to take a moment and I want you to gently check in with yourself. And I want you to see if any of these resonate with you, because these are signs that your inner child still needs healing. Do you struggle with feeling like you're not enough? Do you find yourself needing consistent validation from others? Do you fear being abandoned even when there's no clear reason? Do you have difficulty setting boundaries? Do you feel overwhelmed by your emotions or disconnected from them? Do you find yourself people pleasing even when it drains you? Do you feel like you have to earn love? If any of these statements resonates with you, I want you to hear this clearly. There is nothing, when I say absolutely nothing wrong with you, these are signs that a part of you needs attention, that a part of you needs care, and a part of you needs healing. This is not about blame. This is not about the blame game, but this is about awareness. And I want you to take this opportunity to sit with your truth. And I want you to be honest with yourself that if any of those statements that I just stated resonated with you, please know that your inner child is still breathing. They are not buried, and they are still looking for an opportunity to have those needs met, to be seen, to be heard, to be validated, to be loved, to be cared for. So let's talk about how do we begin to heal that inner child. And I want to say this gently because remember, this is a process. Healing is a journey. It's a lifelong journey. I tell you guys that all the time, that healing is a journey and it takes time. So it's not something that you rush. It's not something that you fix overnight. It's not a one and done, but it's something you build a relationship with. It's something that you continue to do over and over and over again until you do the work. Also in my book, I talk about what the healing journey looks like, how it hurts to heal, why it hurts to heal. And I also give you a map that nobody gave you to this healing journey to help you understand that it's not about perfection, but it's about progress. It's about taking steps forwards. It's about taking steps backwards. It's about pausing. It's about taking a break from healing. It's about engaging in life joys and happiness. It's not all about sadness and crying and emotionalism, but it's about embracing all of it at different times in your life. And it's about you staying on the journey, even when it looks confusing, even when it looks messy, even when it feels hard. It's about you continuing to go forward and not give up. Okay? So let's talk about how do we heal the inner child. The first thing is awareness. This is the very first step to healing the inner child and to even healing from your trauma is awareness. Noticing your triggers, noticing when your reaction feels bigger than the moment. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? I want you to start asking yourself, what is this reminding me of? What is this reminding me of? Because we can't heal something that we don't acknowledge. So we have to be aware. We have to be aware and notice our emotions, notice our triggers, notice when we're overreacting, and ask yourself those questions. What is this reminding me of? The second thing is you have to reparent yourself. So reparenting is one of the most powerful tools when it comes to healing your inner child, because this is where you begin to give yourself what you didn't receive when you were younger. So in the moments that you reparent, you become the safe space. You become the reassurance. You become the voice that says, you're okay. I hear you. You matter. I love you. We are safe now. And this is something that I also encourage the women to do at the conference, is to start reparenting themselves. They didn't know exactly that this is what they were doing. However, I was giving them the tool that they need to go back and give that child what they need or what they didn't get when they were younger. Because this is important. We have to give that inner child what they didn't receive when they were younger. We also have to change our inner dialogue. So start talking to that younger version of you. You might ask them questions. What are you feeling right now? What do you need right now? What are you afraid of in this moment? And then when you ask that inner child those questions, that younger version of you those questions, I then want you to respond with compassion, not judgment, not criticism, but compassion. And I want you to be kind to them and show them the same love and compassion that you would show somebody else. So, another thing that you could do with healing that inner child is journaling. And let me share this with you, because journaling helps us to process what may have been suppressed. And I know sometimes when it comes to journaling, people say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to write. I don't know how to journal. And can I just share this with you? And this is something that I tell my clients in the therapy room, that journaling can look like whatever you want it to look like. It could look like writing sentences. It could look like writing paragraphs. It could look like writing one word. It could look like writing statements. It could look like drawing pictures. It could look like doodling. It could look like whatever you want it to look like. And also, along with my new book release, I also released a journal, the Courage to Heal journal, which provides the space for you to journal. It gives you grounding exercises in there. It gives you journal prompts. It gives you a weekly trackers, monthly trackers. It gives you affirmations in there, and it provides space for you to utilize it however you need to. In that journal, I definitely give you a note at the beginning of the journal to kind of help you and guide you on what journaling can look like. And I also mentioned to you that it doesn't have to be words. It can be pictures. And so with that journal, again, it's called The Courage to Heal. It can also be found on my website, and it also can be found on Amazon and wherever books are sold. However, when you journal, I want you to ask yourself, what did I need as a child that I didn't receive? When do I feel most triggered now? And what does that remind me of? And in this moment, as you ask yourself these questions, I want you to be completely honest with yourself. Be honest with your truths, because if we can't acknowledge what we're really feeling in the moment, if we can't acknowledge what we've been through, we cannot heal what we don't acknowledge. So remember that. And then lastly, reconnecting with joy, reconnecting with those things that bring you joy, those childhood things that make you feel happy, those childhood things that made you smile. Remember, healing is not just about pain, but it's also about rediscovering joy. What did you love as a child? What made you feel free? And allow yourself to experience that again without guilt, because your inner child doesn't just carry wounds, they also carry your authenticity. They also carry the things that you love and the things that you love to do, the things that made you feel seen, heard, and made you feel free. And that's something that I always tell my clients too. Go back and do some of those things that you used to do as a child. Go color, go draw, go skate, go sing, go play a guitar, go ride your bike. Go play in the dirt. Go play marbles. Whatever it is that you feel like you need to go back and connect to find that inner child, I want you to go do that. Because remember, healing the inner child is not about blaming. It's not about shaming, but it's about going back and tending to those needs that you needed when you were younger. And remember, that starts with awareness first. Remember, we have to be aware. We have to acknowledge what we are missing, what we didn't get, and what we didn't receive. And we have to acknowledge our triggers. The second thing, remember, we have to reparent ourselves. We have to go back and give ourselves those things that we didn't receive. We have to become our own safe space and our own validation and our own reassurance, and tell that younger version of us the things that they needed to hear. The third thing, we have to change our inner dialogue. So start talking to that younger version of you with compassion, with care, with kindness, with love, with support, not judgment, not criticism. The fourth thing, we have to journal. Remember, it helps us to process the things that we have suppressed. And this journaling can look any way that we want it to look. It could look like us just writing a word. I love you. I see you. You are safe. Whatever it needs to look like for you to be honest and transparent with yourself, that's what it needs to look like. And lastly, we have to reconnect with our childhood joys. Because remember, healing is not just about pain, but it's about us rediscovering joy, rediscovering those things that made us happy, that brought us life, that made us feel fulfilled, that made us feel safe, that made us feel seen, and that made us feel heard. These are the things that we have to go back and engage in. So, if you're able to right now, I want you to take a moment and I just want you to breathe, because even talking about the inner child and healing the inner child, that probably was really heavy for some people. You may have got triggered while you heard my voice speaking. So I want you to just take a minute and I want you to breathe. I want you to inhale for 4 seconds. And I want you to exhale for 6 seconds. Let's do that again. Let's inhale for 4 seconds. And let's exhale for 6 seconds. And if it feels safe for you right now in this moment, you can close your eyes. I want you to imagine yourself as a child. Notice what you look like. Notice how you're feeling. And now I want you to imagine your adult self walking toward that child. Walking towards that child gently, with care, with understanding. Sit beside them. And just in this moment, be present with that little boy and with that little girl. Know that you don't have to fix anything right now. I just want you to gently let them know, I see you. I'm here for you. You're safe with me now. I love you. And if they need something else, I want you to offer that to them. Offer them love. Offer them comfort. Offer them reassurance. Offer them affection. And remind them they are not alone anymore. Remind them that you guys are safe. Healing your inner child is not about staying in the past. It's about freeing yourself from it so you can show up fully present in your life, loving fully, living fully as the person you are today. So I want to take a minute and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you to every listener that listened to this podcast completely and that went back and got that little boy and that little girl, that younger version of you. I want to say thank you for choosing healing, and thank you for continuing your healing. Remember, it hurts to heal, but it's so worth it. Continue your healing journey. Continue to carry that younger version of you. Continue to go back and get them when you need to, and don't leave them behind, but continue to heal that younger version of you and give that younger version of you everything that they need. Offer them everything that they need, because the child that you buried is still breathing. and they need you today more than ever. Until the next episode, remember, I am here with you, rooting for you, supporting you, loving you, praying for you along the way. And I'll see you at the next episode. Take care.